damn drunk, are you ready to meet me?
Hola!
Bonjour.
Ni hao!
Moi.
Privet!
Halan.
Bula! Fijian.
G'day.
Merhaba to all my friends in Turkey.
Very good, very good. Whatever you say hello. If we didn't say hello in your native tongue, we're very sorry, but hopefully we'll get to say it another day. Welcome to the Normal, Not Normal podcast with myself, James Phelps.
And me, Oliver Phelps. And guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We have actually got, I suppose, a very special type of episode for you because we actually were able to sit down with our guest today, Nat Tena, in a socially distanced environment. Obviously, like that, all protocols were followed, but actually in the same room, which was absolutely lovely to be able to do that and have a really, really good catch up.
That's right. So our guest today, like Oliver said, is Nat Tena. Now, most of you will know her as Tonks from Harry Potter. That's where we first met her. But since then, she's been in so many huge classic series of other things. I've lost count.
She has been, exactly. But anyway, so before we get on to everything what Nat's been getting up to, let me just explain how this podcast works if this is the first time you're watching. Basically, James and myself are trying to explore what normal really means. And you know what? If it actually means anything, and if it actually even exists. But anyway, getting on to our guest today, Nat Tena. So her big break came when she got the part of Ellie in the film About a Boy with Nicholas Hoult and Hugh Grant. And then after Harry Potter, she played Osha in Game of Thrones. And more recently, she became this, I don't know how you would even describe her character, a big purple alien in the Star Wars series The Mandalorian.
What was her name in that, Oliver?
Hang on. Zion.
I believe it was, yes. You haven't looked that up at all, have you?
I've been looking at you. Not doing anything.
Good.
Yeah, that's all I know. But also as well, one thing is that we've known Nat for a long time is what a brilliant singer she is, and especially in her band Molotov Jukebox, which is like aiming at a gypsy-esque funk ska band.
Yeah, they're a bit like Go-Go Bordello or something like that, I would say. Really good fun,
good,
really
yeah.
great band to see. She's everywhere, but we know her as Nat, someone who's very funny, someone we've been very lucky to travel most of the world with her at some way, shape or form. And honestly, that person that takes things home from premiere parties. More will be explained later in this episode.
Yeah, we've all done that to some point of view. Maybe
To a
not
degree,
this extent. Maybe not to this extent. But anyway, more will be revealed later on today.
So what have you been up to this week then, Oliver?
Well, all right. Have you ever tried to rotate a shed 90 degrees?
What, like that way or that way?
Well, obviously not that way. So it's facing this way now.
This is really good
And I
audio,
want-
by the way.
It's really good audio, right. So it's basically facing, if you imagine it's facing east, I want it to face south. So have to turn it that way. And it turns out it is a right bugger to do.
Well, yeah. It would.
I mean, I wasn't doing it on my own, obviously. I had some help. But even so, very, very frustrating. But anyway, needless to say, perseverance won the day. And it's all looking mighty fine right now.
Very good.
I mean, as excitement goes in the week, that's pretty poor, isn't it? What did you do? I
No.
had to rotate a shed.
Yeah, I'd say that's poor.
Yeah.
So the last week or so, luckily it's been getting a bit warmer, so I've been able to get back on my bike outside, which has been fantastic because riding in the shed, let's say, isn't as fun as being in the great outdoors. So being able to ride with birds around you, animals around you, all this kind of stuff, I love it. So that's definitely been the highlight.
Speaking of birds, you know how you were talking in our listener participation week about your owl thing?
Yes.
And can you remember me saying that I've ordered 2?
Yes.
Well, they arrived today. And we'll do like an unpacking if you want. Look, they're not even... Let's just get... Ugh. Right. Now, there's 2 at a time here. Oh. Right, okay, so I've got 2 here, so we'll leave that one down there because they're both the same. Look, he spins around, this owl. Ooh. So the idea is, apparently, you just stick this on the top and look, it bubbles around. It's like a bubble head as well. Whoa.
I guarantee that will not work.
Well, apparently it does. I mean, he's quite big. I wouldn't go in that garden, would you? I mean, he's still going around now. Gosh, look at his head. I thought it would rotate one way, then go back the other, not completely around in the same way. I mean, he looks pretty scary. But yeah, so I've got this thing, which is on our listener participation week that we did. James was showing us his basically crap.
Owl alert.
What he bought. His owl alert. So I said to him at the time, I've actually ordered something like that. But luckily, this thing has turned up, which is probably a good 50 centimetres high. I don't know what that is in the metrics in imperial system. I'm not too sure. But yeah, and he's got very realistic eyes. He's got a good beak. Yeah. So I don't know what I'm going to call this owl. So if there's any ideas what we could name said owl for the garden, the funnier, the better the name. And maybe if it's something from a foreign language. So when I say foreign language, I mean foreign language to English. That would be wunderbar.
Right, well, thank you for that, Oliver. So back to today's show. Like we said earlier, we went to London to meet up with Nat to chat about things which we've never talked with her before. And like many, many guests that we've had on that we've known for many years, we get into conversations and topics which we never even thought to have. But that has been really, really great fun to do. Like I said, when we got there, it was all very social distance, very COVID aware. So it was pretty much standing 2 meters apart to say hello, wave, sit down with our masks on, and right before we started filming, take the mask off, all that kind of stuff. So just to make it clear, we were very, very sensible. Also, you may notice as well, Nat brought along her dog, Mimosa. And I think we should definitely make it a thing. If we're ever doing a live show, let's put it like that, you have to bring along your dog if you have one. I think that's very important.
Or plastic owl, if you don't.
Or plastic owl, yes. With all that being said, please welcome Mimosa and Nat.
So Nat, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for inviting me.
In literally our first ever live, I say live because we're actually in front of you, time we've done a podcast like this. So thanks so much for joining us and bringing Mimosa, your lovely dog, as well.
We are going to...
Beautiful.
I know we said this earlier, but I think we should make this a thing now. If people are coming in and we're speaking face to face, you need to bring your pet, especially if it's a dog.
Or a parrot, doesn't matter.
Or a parrot or tortoise, anything like that.
Yeah, I think parrots may be the one animal you probably don't want on a podcast.
No, but you get the truth. No, you'd get the truth, wouldn't you? He's lying.
I know a friend of mine, his mum's got one, and whenever you walk in, he keeps going, "Want a cup of tea?"
Ooh.
Because that's apparently what his mum says to anyone who walks in the door. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Nat, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
So we thought we'd explain really. So basically, the whole reason what we've started to establish on our podcast right now is like what is normal. So
Right.
so for you, like what would be like your normal, say from like childhood? Would that be how would you describe that, or even now as well?
I can't really remember much from my childhood. But the thing is, I find, especially with COVID, but even especially just being someone self-employed, that's the one, sometimes terrifying thing, and also exhilarating thing is that it's always changing.
Yeah.
Always. Some Sundays you're very, very far away from friends and family. Some days we're all at a convention together.
Yeah.
Some days I'm looking up, hanging out with my godchildren. Some days I'm deciding to make a massive 5-hour roast, which is one of my favourite ways to spend a Sunday.
All right.
Eating,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Is there any like in particular roast you'd do?
Yes. So, firstly, for listeners, I'm Spanish, or my family's Spanish. So I only came across roasts when I started going out with the English men. And the same thing with Christmas, actually. We celebrate 24th
Yes.
in Spain. So we get hammered, and my family, lots of singing, lots of dancing. And my dad remarried a Colombian, so that's also involves salsa dancing till 5 a.m. And then my dad would drive me home and I'd have to go do Christmas Day, very hungover, at my boyfriend's house, which is good because I've never had that thing where I've had to argue with a partner about who we're going to spend family with.
Right, yeah.
So Christmas and roast was something that slowly come into my life. And actually something that scared me a lot about Christmas, eating and rituals, was I remember my first boyfriend, his mum came out with a flaming Christmas pudding. And
Okay,
I
yeah.
was this close to rugby tackling her because I was like, wow, she's pissed. She's really drunk. She's set a cake on fire. And they were like, no, this is like a normal thing. So it's been a slow process falling in love with them. And now I love doing this chicken with morel, white wine and cream sauce. And actually, roast potatoes are fine. I'm a mash girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. Right.
You're listening to Normal Not Normal. The
Food Hour.
Food Hour.
Which we're talking about right now.
Yeah, you've really gone.
Completely lost for us. Yeah, thanks.
Mate, I can talk about food, so you better.
Well, the great thing is, I remember when we
Shut
were...
up, we're going to
Okay.
So let me try and segue this in.
Go on then.
I can't. When you're performing, so have you always wanted to perform, like acting and that kind of stuff?
No, that
none of your family do it, do they? It's...
I mean, everyone in my family on my mum's side can sing really well and play some stuff. But I mean, it was after Franco was still in power. I mean, the idea of someone from very, very poor family becoming an artist was like, you're absolutely not doing that. So that became, that's something that I was lucky enough because they came here and, I had a more privileged upbringing than they did. So it's like, I could do that, but it wasn't something that I kind of fell into it completely. I was very lucky with About Boy. I got cast at school and because I was smoking. And I was in that weekend, busted, and my drama teacher saw me coming out of a bush, and he really liked me. Al Muir, thank you, you've literally changed my life. And he said, "No, look, I'm not gonna bust you, but can you go into this room?" And I walked in, and there was a casting director I now know, and she was there with like all these little boys, and I was like, "I am not babysitting. Are you joking?"
Yeah.
And she gave me a script and said, "Sit down and say stuff," and I did, and I was like, "Wow, I got off so lightly from that punishment." And that was my first audition. I got it.
Wow.
But yeah, I even though then I got an agent, I still was like, nah, this is not real. I mean, I'm not going to get paid. And also, I was chubby. I had dreads. I had lice. I was like, this is not, acting's for like pretty people.
Yeah.
And I got a scholarship to go away at 18 to study. And I fell in love and I didn't go. And at the time I was busking on the tube. I had no money. And I had an agent. And what I wanted to do was go to Australia and learn to become a psychologist or a sex therapist or something, in that vein.
Yeah.
And then that week when I said no to going to Australia, because their term starts in February, it was an awful month. And no one gives buskers money in February. If you're listening, it is February. Well, that was March. In these cold months, please give buskers money. Because around Christmas, everyone's lovely. They're like, woo! But February was very grim, and I got my first play. And that's when I suddenly fell in love with this job. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
So after you were after About a Boy, did you get recognised in the street?
No.
No,
I didn't get any of that. And I remember at the time, this is how little I wanted to be. It's not I didn't not want. I loved doing theatre at school. I just didn't think it was a real profession for someone like me that looked like me to do film. And I remember my agent kept putting me up for jobs. Like from 16 to 18, she kept putting me up for stuff. And I was like, no, unless it's a lead role in a film. I can't believe I said this stuff. I'm not taking it because my education's more important. And I was convinced that was not going to be my route.
right, yeah.
It's weird.
Brilliant.
Life.
But that shows how strong you are in knowledge about that, because for me, I would have been put me up for anything and I would be there. I would burn down the school to get there.
Well, I think it's also, just coming from parents that were immigrants and just seeing how hard, I was like, I can't do that. Obviously I could do music and I did, and I was at school that was quite artistic, but for me, it was just like, that's such precarious life.
Yeah, did you have that thing as well? Like you mentioned how like Franco was still in power then. So was that also a little history lesson for everyone here? Franco was a dictator who basically overruled Spain for a long time.
A long time, till 76.
A nice man.
Not nice.
At all.
They finally start taking down his statues, which is like, that was long overdue.
Yeah. But with that influence, like obviously, as you say, like how the arts and stuff like that were very much under the carpet, like out of the way. Was that more of a thing where your parents were more accepting of you busking and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, no, my mum loved that, and in fact, I think I've got my mum to thank for this. When I was when I was about 2, that's when my mum realised I could sing and I could listen. I just had an ear. So I think when I was 3, it was like, bring your kid to Christmas party. She worked at United Nations and everyone brought their kids in, and she taught me all these Spanish Christmas songs. And she put me in this little dress and she was like, go sing to everyone and get money. So I was like she did the first one. We knocked on this door, and it's like campana, so just me singing like this part. And then she was like, "Now get in the lift and go to all the floors. I'll be here, having fun with my mates." And I just remember knocking on all these people's doors, like, "Who is this little girl singing me in Spanish?"
How did you get in?
Just get me in, like, But yeah, at the end of that, my mum, like, I remember her vividly, like, I had all these coins. My pockets are full of coins. She was like, "You are so lucky. You have just earned money doing something you love. Do you know how lucky that is?" And then I remember her, like, saying, so some of this is for charity and the rest is you. And
Brilliant.
Her teaching me that kind of thing, that it is a privilege.
I suppose, especially seeing it physically.
Yeah.
You know
As a
what I mean?
kid,
Actually
you're like,
physically seeing the coins and stuff like
gold.
that. Yeah.
But do you ever find that even to this day, if you're working, I always find it I'm slightly guilty if someone says, like, if I say, "I've got to go to work today if I'm acting."
Yeah.
I always think I want to make sure that they know that I'm happy about that, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I've got to go to work today."
Yeah.
It's "Oh, sorry about that."
Yeah.
Whereas we're like, "No, I really want to go to work today."
Can't wait. Give me more lines. Let me say more things. Yeah.
Exactly.
And especially now, just, after COVID, I've just started my first job after COVID. It's called Wolf, and it's on Sky, and I'm having so much fun. And when we did the read-through in December, it was amazing because weirdly, a lot of the crew have managed to work through COVID, which is, well done, all of them.
Yeah.
But none of the actors, like all of us were like, "Have you worked?" No. And the joy, it's like an extra level of joy they're all feeling, because we're at the moment filming a lot of the times outside in Manchester. It is cold. It's a beautiful city, but it is cold and rainy. And it's like, you don't hear a word of complaint from anyone. Everyone's just so happy to have a job at the moment.
Yeah.
Just keep going. So, while we're on the subject, can you tell us a bit more about Wolf?
Wolf is fantastic. So it follows a man called Wolf, who's played by Babu Kisei, who is... I love him so much. It's been a long time since I've had someone like that I play opposite, that I just think is a phenomenal human and actor and everything. And he is a CSI forensic detective, and he's got his team, and I'm his estranged wife, and we have a daughter called Flick. And essentially, it's written by Paul Abbott, who wrote Shameless.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Brilliant.
crazy. What wonderful.
So is it in that same style of things?
Yeah, it's kind of got dramatic elements to it, but it's drama funny, drama comedy. And at the end of the day, it's kind of about family, because you see this person struggling, trying to solve these cases, and he's got that family, and then he's got this family, and it's kind of how we work together as a team.
Yep.
There's a lot of love in it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very looking
Great.
forward to seeing that one. So,
Great.
I guess we'll go back to where we met, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Go.
Where did we meet? I know where, but when?
2000.
I guess it would be the start of... I'll tell you when it was. I remember when it was. It was on, the fifth Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But you were getting your hair dyed purple, or having purple bits put in.
Yeah.
So the first time I met you was actually in the hair and makeup room, because I was with Jenny, who would dye my hair ginger.
Yeah.
And she had Nat, this is Nat, and that's the first time I remember meeting you.
Wow. Was it purple? Did you... Because I remember I went in for a lot of makeup tests. Was it before we started filming? Because they were not sure about what Tonks was meant to look like. So I went through a whole,
did you?
like every colour of the rainbow, different wigs, different everything. They were unsure, and initially they wanted me pink with like kind of a short punky hair, but Umbridge was pink, so I had to get given a different colour. There was a whole...
I'm assuming it was just before, because we were...
It would be the test, I think.
Yeah.
In between 4 and 5, we had our hair cut off. Allowed the natural one to grow through instead of bleaching it for a solid 10 years. So that would have been... It was the first time I'd gone back to being ginger.
Right.
So, yeah, it would have been pre-shooting.
Yeah, pre-shoot.
So, but yeah, that was a...
Even just speaking about that now, I can smell hair dye.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I'm getting my hair dyed after this. I've got hair point. It's pretty brutal, isn't it? It's amazing how hair survives, because I always have my hair changed for so many things, and it's like, is it going to fall off at some point?
Just keep risking it. Yeah. So that was what? 15 years ago?
Yeah.
It'd be along that line, yeah.
14 years ago,
I was 22, I'm 36 now. Maths. 14.
Yeah.
14, 15.
So, yeah, what? Gosh, yeah. Crazy.
Time happens.
Yeah, exactly. Time happens. Yeah, who else feels old? Little. But yeah, so, in terms of like actual memories from when we were filming, what was it like coming in to the films? Had you seen them? Like, before you'd even got
I hadn't seen them, and I'm amazed that I got the job, frankly. I was doing a play at the time, and I I was actually quite annoyed that my agent had got me this an audition at all, because I was in Ipswich and I was like, I don't understand. I've got to get on a train, do the audition and come back before half. And I'm quite neurotic about, I have like a system before I go on stage, like getting into the thing. And it's like, I can't, And I did it. And I walked in, I was rushing. I'd cycled from the station. And I walked in, I smashed into a chair and it fell over and I was like a mess and like sweating. It was hot. And I was like, hi, I don't know anything about this woman. Apparently she changed her hair colour a lot, and I was like, that was me, I've done that a lot. And I kind of went into an in-depth story at this audition about when my first boyfriend had dumped me. I went into a hairdresser and asked him to turn my hair into a funeral, and that was my only kind of note to this hairdresser.
Were they sitting there with a script like?
And they were like, I was like, okay. I came out like looking like a kind of really depressed Natalie Portman from like Leon, black, like I hate my life and my heart is broken.
Black cloud falling around him.
So I told him some stuff about that, and I think the director's like, David was like, okay. And I did it, and it was a terrible audition because I'd never read any of the books. I thought it was just completely just a kid's show, and I thought Voldemort was a country, and he was meant to, I didn't understand the context of anything I was saying, and I left, and I rang my agent, and I was like, that was the worst audition I've ever done. And she's like, you always say that. I was like, no, promise you this was bad. And yeah, she rang me like 2 hours later and was like, it was terrible, but for some reason he wants to see you again. And I was like, okay. And then I read all the books. I had like a week. Yeah. And I read all, and I was like, this is amazing. And I suddenly got it. And he had so much faith that I could potentially be this person that he rang me and he was like, I'm going to give you a 3-hour audition slot. See if we can get this right. And I was like, okay, that had never happened to me before or since.
Yeah, as good signs go.
That was like, okay. And I walked in, I think because I suddenly got the context, I read it once and he was like, that's it, film it. And we filmed it, and that was it. I only did it like maybe twice.
Brilliant.
So context is really everything.
Yeah. No, fantastic. That's great. Because I remember at the end of that premiere, I remember, or was it, no, sorry, it was the last premiere. I remember seeing you walking down the embankment with a pig. So there was a hog roast, and I just remember sitting like, they'd like, okay, thanks everyone, have a nice evening, off you go. And we were all leaving, like there were cars picking people up, and I just remember seeing you walking down the riverside, down the Thames side, with a hog roast.
Instead of a traveller with the little satchel on the back.
But the worst is that the line that they gave it to me was clear, so I looked properly crazy. I looked like don't go near that woman, like. Yeah. And I was wearing my accordion because I'd made friends with all the staff because we were there for sound check because Molotov Jukebox played.
Because you played there, didn't they? Yeah.
So I didn't see the film that night, and I made friends with all the staff, and at the end when everyone was going, I was like, who's eating that hog? They were like, you have it. And I did that, and then I was like, oh, this champagne, can I have some? So my accordion case was full of like bottles of champagne. I was wearing my accordion, I was holding a pig. I was like, this is not, so glad no one took a picture of that.
So I never knew of that because we were going on tour literally the next morning.
Oh, that's why everyone left. So I was like, why is everyone going?
Well, no, I remember burning the candle at both ends. That's
kind of our thing on a promo tour, really. It used to be anyway. Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe not. But like, so what would you say, like, in terms of, like, I mean, going on to like when we were talking about the the experiences, like in terms of promotional stuff, because we've been in Paris and Valencia together. Where else?
He likes to try and pronounce.
That's how you say, isn't it?
Yeah, Valencia.
And where else did you manage to go anywhere else with the films as well, or was it like Spanish speaking specifically? Because obviously you speak it.
What do you mean, more conventions or more promotion? Like
no, in terms of like both really, where you've had like the big interaction with the fan base.
New York. We went to New York, didn't we? Were you there?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
That was the first time I'd ever gone to New York, and
that was a bit crazy, wasn't it?
My wonderful on the
we won't go that way.
But my wonderful on-screen husband, David Thewlis, he kind of adopted me because I was like, I don't know what's going on. I was really jet lagged, and I'd never been to New York, and he's like, we're just gonna walk, and me and him. We walked everywhere, and at the time I was sort of smoking. I was like, just getting so angry that I couldn't smoke. And he was like, don't worry, there's a cigar bar here where you can smoke it. And so me and him just ended up walking the city for hours and ended up at the cigar bar that I could smoke my straights.
Brilliant.
That was a wicked show. I completely forgot about that one.
That was great. We had so much food. I mean, I just remember eating a lot of food and drinking a lot as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember to a point. I remember to a point.
Yeah.
It went like that. Anyway, so after Potter, you played Osha in Game of Thrones, and
that's the next better known one, definitely.
Yeah, so going going into that as well, like such a massive project at the time when it came out.
Harry Potter.
Game of Thrones as well. Like obviously going into that as well. Did being in Potter prepare you for that fandom as well?
Yes, I would definitely say that. But I think I'm quite lucky because in both of these jobs, I don't really get recognised much. So I think I've kind of avoided that whole, maybe your life, I don't know, that invasiveness that can happen.
Yeah.
I've never really had that. In Game of Thrones, though, interestingly, I after season 3, when I'm in it quite a lot, like much more than any of the others, I started only getting recognised like on a Sunday, hungover in winter when I was wearing like my weird vintage fur coat. And I had a look, and that's when people would be like, I'd be going to get a Bloody Mary to like stop the pain, and someone would be like, "Oh my God, you're that," and I was like, "Oh wow, I look like a wildling in this bar." It's terrible. So that's the only time I've kind of felt it. But yeah, Harry Potter did prepare me, definitely. Although with Game of Thrones, we didn't know it was going to be a big thing. I was there from the beginning, so
yeah.
That's right. Because I remember you talking about you were going to, was it Northern Ireland you were filming?
Yeah, Belfast.
So I remember you saying you were going there. Was it whilst we were filming The Last Potter, or
maybe it might have been? Maybe there was a bit of
was there a bit of an overlap? But
yeah,
I remember you talking about it, and then
or maybe it's like I just got the job and I was going, I'm going to this place.
Yeah, because there was a great quote that we came across by J.R. Martin, who said about you after meeting you that he wished that he wrote more of your character into Game of Thrones. I suppose his compliments go.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Yeah, he's lovely. I had a good time with him at the rap party in LA. I think there was a big one at season 3, and I got to hang out with him a lot and his missus. It was a great night.
Right,
he was a lovely dude.
That's fantastic.
Very good. Brilliant. And then so last year,
yes,
Disney Plus. I'm watching The Mandalorian. I was like, I know that purple thing. But I could not put where or who. And it was driving me mad. And then eventually the penny dropped that it was you. Well done on that one.
How long playing a tentacled purple alien? It was great.
How long did that take to go in, like for all that?
The makeup.
Yeah.
Okay, so interestingly, I did a series. This isn't the interest me. It will get there. I did a series in LA called Wisdom of the Crowd, and that natural makeup that I wear for that. The hair and the makeup for that was 1 hour and 50. And this alien tentacle lady took 1 hour and a half. So actually, looking LA pretty and like great takes longer than being an alien.
Wow.
Turns out. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. But yeah, it was great. I really liked the guy in the chair, and it was really fun just watching that transformation. I loved my tentacles. They were Velcro, though. And at the beginning, I was like, I just want to wear them all the time. And at the end of the day, I was like, oh, my God, my neck. It's so heavy.
Well, and so, like, you're talking about going for the audition with Tonks in terms of context.
Yeah.
What kind of context do you have to play a tentacled lady?
I don't know. I just kind of got a sense of... And it felt like more like it was a jailbreak, situation. So... I kind of went with that, and I don't know, for me, I felt like immediately, because it said she had this knife thing, like she's quite a physical kind of being, and that I always find physicality helps finding a way, for me, into a character. Because I worked with this theatre company called Shared Experience, who were amazing. They were the ones that I got the job when I was about to go off to Australia, and I got that one. And it was kind of like going to drama school, where they believe that you can find a lot in a character with just physicality. So you start finding out, how does my character... Why are they doing this? Or shadow moves, like maybe, a character it scratches their knee when they're nervous, and that can inform who the person is.
Yeah.
Strangely.
Yeah, I was going to say about your method. I'm always intrigued by again, we never talk about this kind of stuff, do we?
Yeah, no, we don't ever.
Would you mind if I could... I mean, we've had hours and hours to speak about this kind of stuff, but what's your method when it comes to a new character or a new job, and does that differ from if you're doing stage or TV or film? Like, is there a difference in how you go about everything?
I think there is. I think still, because of that physicality background, I try and find something physical, always, and that's how and actually, if you get an accent, that also is very helpful. Yeah, because you immediately are transformed in the way you speak, and it's like, oh, okay, wow, who's this person?
Yeah, because that even changed how you hold your face.
The muscles you're using. Sometimes sometimes with theatre, I find this actually has happened every single time I've done theatre. I really don't think I've got it. And it gets to like the tech week, which is like, in fact, I was at Dumbledore in 2019 and I hadn't done theatre in 10 years because with the band and filming, it's one extra thing I couldn't do. And I remember going to Tech Week, and that Friday before we went on Monday, I looked up flights to Colombia. I was like, I'm just going to run away. I was so terrified, and it's a fear that it's very different to film. You kind of don't sleep the night before when you film, but theatre is like a whole other, like a black hole of fear. And then you go into Tech Week and it was fine. And the reason it always becomes fine is because costume comes in.
Yeah.
And you do the tech rehearsal in costume. You're like, oh, yes, this is who I am. And so costume is fundamental, I think, especially in theatre for me.
Yeah.
I always say how a director that I did my first ever stage show with, and I was bricking.
Yeah.
But like I again, because if it's not like if you mess up on film, go again.
Yeah.
If you mess up on stage, you've got to figure your way out of it without anyone realising.
And if you blank, like that is when it feels like an hour has gone by and you're like, oh, God, and then you're panicking for the rest of the show. It's
Well, I did one a couple of years ago, and there was the girl who I was doing the scene with literally had a coughing fit during the scene. And it was actually quite funny because she was meant to tell me how like I'm missing my dad, I can't, and she was like, my dad. I was, what, you're missing your dad?
Just take your own cue.
It's like, how can I get around this? But yeah, so the director Adam, he told me before the first show that I ever did, he was saying, when you look at the audience, just remember, no one wants you to suck. They want you to be the best thing they've ever seen in their life. So take that with you into everything, which I have done, literally everything I've done since. But it still doesn't change the first night. No. Especially when there's a different... So the one show I did was based around a true story about a football team in the First World War. So you had So you had history people, theatre-going people, and football fans. And
you've got to impress all three of them.
Well, football fans were the ones singing at the other side of the room.
It was a really bizarre crowd, but I really enjoyed it because I'm a football fan, I'm a history fan, and I like to be on stage. So it worked out well. But I remember one night there was these two skinheads in the front row.
Wow!
And they literally you could just see as you know, and you're waiting behind the wings before it comes on.
Yeah.
And out the corner of my eye, I could see these guys in the front row. And so where I had to go in first to deliver my line, I went to the front of the stage. And then you just hear, all right, and they're opening their beers. I was like, okay. And you're doing, but you kind of have an out-of-body experience, don't you, at times when you're performing to an audience. Yeah. And so anyway, I can see these guys on the front row, and then another guy walks forward, and he's supposed to be announcing to the supporters club to start the story. It's based in now Leighton Orient Football Club, so he walks forward and he's like, good evening, everyone. He's playing, all right, mate, how you doing? It was like, you can see that you can then see all the theatre goers being like, oh dear, oh no.
Who's this?
And then, anyway, it's a very emotional charge play at the very end of it. And these guys are sobbing their hearts out. And that was the best experience for me because and then after every night we'd go for a drink in the pub around the corner and these guys came over to us. And this one chap was literally like, mate, I've never been to the theatre, ever. I've never been to Panto, I've not been to anything. But I heard you talking about this on, I think it's TalkSport or whatever, a radio programme. And they said, we thought we'd come for a laugh. But I've loved it. And then the final week, they turn up with 5 of their mates. So they came back. And I was like, I hope they cry again.
Yeah. Can you do that every time on you?
But it was definitely but then the experience that you have from acting in stage compared to film, do you prefer what do you prefer doing for your all-round, like when you go to bed at night when you're filming, do you feel as fulfilled as you do on stage, or is it different? It's
just a different feeling. I think you can sometimes get a film from film or TV when you watch the results, even if you don't like your bit, which I generally don't, at least the whole thing, wow, we've done this together, guys, there's our product. I don't know. But also sometimes with film, you can just have a bad day and you're like, oh God, that is there forever. And you can then spiral and not sleep. And that's that's why I started running to and from work. I think that really helps. Exercise is a really good way of just right, I'm dumping all this out before I go back home. But then theatre as well, I mean, then it doesn't matter because it's done, but you are just buzzing.
Yeah.
You are like on. I mean, it takes like a good few hours to even attempt to sleep. But it's just a scarier thing. I just remember being at the drum run. It's very, very scary. I think what it was is that before 2 years ago, most of the stuff I've done has involved a lot of music and a lot of dance. Like I worked with Knee High, like my favourite. Now it's Wise Children, but my favourite theatre company. And that really helps because when you're on stage, you're nervous. Suddenly you're all going into a bit of a song and it kind of bonds you all, it resets your fear on stage. Whereas suddenly when it's just words, you're like, oh God, there's just words. There's a lot of words that I've got to get through tonight. And things like that can happen. Like in the Dumbledore, one of the actors who was a bit older, bless, just fell asleep on stage. But his character's meant to...
Did like a comical stick come out from the side?
He was meant to fall asleep, but then me and this other actress were there and we're waiting for him to say something and it's like, oh, and so she just kind of talked over it, and eventually he woke up at a different point in the script, like, get this line. I'm like, this is amazing. Just what's going to happen? Like,
but then, like to add on to that as well, when you play with Molotov,
yeah,
is that a totally different buzz? Because you're in complete control in terms of like it's your words, it's your music, it's your
but it's kind of scary because in between the songs, it's you. So
right,
you know,
yes. So there's no character or anything like that. Then.
And like that's why I find like doing more live interviews like on TV or stuff like that. I find that quite intimidating because it's like I'm me. Okay, I've got to answer well as me or be good as me.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're acting, you're someone else and you're saying other words and it's fine. So I found that quite hard. But it's also very fun because we can, I think all of us as a band did develop a bit of a persona just to deal with that.
Yeah.
But again, the adrenaline you get from music, it's just a different thing because you're just trying to work together. And also I find doing live music is quite forgiving. Like I've heard back some of my recordings, I'm like, wow. Woo! Whereas, when you go into a studio, it's very, very, you have to fine tune everything.
Yeah, but we've seen you guys a couple of times, and it's like a party.
Yeah.
So that's what's fun about it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's chaotic, it's silly, it's colourful. We're trying to be sexy. I don't know if it works, but we are. We're trying to make everyone else feel sexy as well.
It's kind of like when you do press tours, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can remember that one we're doing was it Madrid?
Yes, when we started.
I've got a photo of you doing your press call and I'm hiding behind the curtains as if like a whole press. Very random.
Great.
I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I don't know. No.
It works, this story.
Yeah, exactly.
So like in terms of like the normality side of it, bar like this last year when it's been obviously you've been on your boat, on your houseboat and stuff like that. Has that been nice to be just in one place?
Yes, and actually, one thing that was amazing is I realised I hadn't really stopped. I was very, very lucky. I've been very lucky because I've either got... I think what's good is if you're an actor is having something else because, when the acting dries up, I've always had the band, but there's always been stuff going on. And I realised that last year, I've been with my bloke this year 13 years, and last year was the longest we've ever been together, actually hung out. Because he's self-employed as well, and it's like... we've hung out a lot doing music together because he's in the band, but I was like, are we going to divorce?
Yeah.
Is this the end of it? I don't know. Yeah. But it was amazing, and actually being able to stop was great. I kind of went through a few emotions. I think around July when things started opening up, I then started having a bit of fear. I was like, oh God, I'm never going to work. I'm going to have to retrain. Maybe I'll go back to be a psychologist. Maybe this is the moment. But yeah, well, how about you guys? Did you feel that lull? Did you like that lull?
I did and I didn't.
Yeah.
Initially I did. And then after a while, I was like, I'm bored of this. I feel like I need to have get something on, on the goal side of it. But it was nice. It was nice to do something. But as you say, it was just okay, what are we going to do now?
I was used to a lot more. Like 5-10 years ago, I was a lot more. I think especially after the Potters finished.
Yeah.
There'd be that 2 a.m. Can't go to sleep. What the hell am I doing with my life? When's the phone going to? Like, do you know what I mean? And then once I stopped. Not caring is the wrong word, but once I realised that it was out of my control in that regard, things started working.
It started being better, yeah.
It's weird. So,
well, I feel like that. Weirdly, for me, my reaction when the first lockdown happened was it's the first time since I was maybe 7 when I started sleeping badly. That first lockdown, I slept 10 hours a night. First time since I was a little girl. And it's because that pressure just went. It's like, well, the whole world's broken, so I can go to sleep. I don't know why that was the logical.
I think, to be fair, I think that made it better because we were supposed to be going away literally like the week after the whole lockdown kicked off. We were supposed to be away for like 7 weeks or something. And because we couldn't do that, I think if we were just told, it's off, you're not going, I'd have felt really flat.
Yeah.
But knowing that, one, it wouldn't be possible even if you could.
Yeah.
And two, it's not like anyone else is
Doing it
taking your
either,
spot
yeah.
or anything like that. That makes it, I suppose, in just terms of acceptance,
Yeah, exactly.
way easier, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, way easier. But no, that's cool. That's cool. Go on.
But you were also quite busy last year as well, because
Why did I do something?
you
didn't
did
you
quite
go
a
for a
huge
stroll?
You had quite a cool walk.
Oh, yes,
Shall we
I
say?
did. Sorry.
I'm trying to tee you up
Wow, that
I'm
is
really thinking-
amazing. I completely...
So is it the Camino
The Camino.
De Santiago?
Yes, Camino De Santiago, that's it.
Okay.
And there's various ones. So you can do like from the south, which I really want to do because it goes to my village in Spain, in the south.
So just talk us through it from. So
yes.
sorry. So you're doing it for the Orchid Project.
Yes, Orchid Project.
Orchid Project.
And it's kind of an amazing charity that's against FGM and fights for that. And it's works through with communities, and they. What I love about them is it's FGC, sorry, instead of FGM, because FGM is female.
I was going to say, just to clarify what that means.
Yes, female genital. It used to be called female genital mutilation, but this, I think now the term has changed, but they've definitely changed it in their charity to female genital cutting, because using words that we put a cultural value on things, and if you want to go and change something, you're going to offend people, and it's not really going to help the situation. It's their approach.
Yeah. Well, especially putting it mutilation compared to and then to cutting.
Yeah, that's
It's a
big
lot more.
value
It's a lot more
judgment,
obvious in your head as well as to what it is. But sorry, so you did it for the Orchid Project.
Yes, and they're a lovely team. I discovered them when we were crowdfunding for Molotov, and with Pledge you can some of the profits can go to a charity. And I was like, well, let's find one. And I just read this book by Ayaan Hirsi Ali. I can't remember which one of hers. I've read quite a few of them. Maybe I'm Infidel or something like that. She's amazing. Her story is incredible. And I knew FGC existed, but it was almost like, yeah, it happens. And, occasionally, after a few drinks, if it came up, I'd get angry about it. But I hadn't internalized it. And then after I read that book, I was like, I've got to do something. And this charity was just starting, actually. And I just kind of went with them. And then suddenly I was like, what can I do? And I asked them, and they were like, well, you could do this, you could do a marathon. And I found it very hard because I'm like, if I'm working loads and I sign up to a marathon and then I get a job that takes me. So I was just like, what can I do? And then last year it was like the perfect opportunity. It's like, well, nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Everyone is unemployed. There's no chance of anything being made. Now's the time to do it.
And when you were doing each day, did you, I suppose...
Could I just say, where did you start?
Oh,
and where were you going to? And
Yeah. So we started in Biarritz.
Yep.
But I think there's a more traditional place to start if you do the Camino Norte, which is actually in Spain. Biarritz is in France, so it's a longer journey.
Yep.
But the flights were so cheap, and I was like, let's go there and let's just walk through a bit of France. Why not? 2 days in France. Oh, Irún, that's where it starts. It usually starts in Irún in Spain, and we started it in Biarritz. And there's so many routes, but I wanted to do the North Way because in 2019 I did the French Way, Camino Frances, just another route basically. And it's quite a party route.
Yep.
I think for a lot of people that maybe want to do it, it's great first time. But I only did 9 days, so I only did from Lyon, and I was going through a pretty bad personal time at the time, and that really healed me. I came back and I was like, that's healed me. I need further healing, so I did therapy for the first time in my life. Recommend it if you're going through something. It's amazing.
Yep.
And I was like, because of that, I was like, oh, maybe doing this, I can help heal this particular problem. And so we did, after doing that party where I was like, you know what, I'm loving getting to a burger and there's everyone just getting hammered and I love that it's always full but actually we met these two old boys when we hit Galicia. By the way, as soon as you enter Galicia, it starts raining. It is just like literally the line.
You've had enough fun.
Just and we met these guys taking a picture by the classic kind of the big stone thing saying it's Galicia and you're there in the mountains. And these two old boys were like, yeah, you should, if you like this, you should do the North Way, which is apparently technically the hardest. And it's more isolated. There's less albergues, which are like the pilgrim hostels to stay. And I was set on that. I was like, yeah, I want more beauty and I want harshness and I want more isolated, please.
Which I suppose, because it is a pilgrimage, I suppose the more isolated in terms of a pilgrimage is an isolated thought with God, isn't it? That's the thing
and
too. And being central to what you're doing. So when you're going through those times, as you say, it's a more challenging version of it.
Yeah.
Were there times where you're thinking, right, I'm doing this for this great cause, this or was that always just
that was always just a sub, that was always a sub thing that
Right.
was there, especially when I just got really moved that it just went up because I think loads of people start donating, then I had to cancel it and then I rescheduled and there wasn't, it wasn't up. I was like, I'm not going to get this money, this was unrealistic, what am I doing? And then one night I just put up a video and then by the next day it was pretty much 100%. I was like, I had to change it. I had to raise it because I was like, what? And I remember that morning I'd left this weird monastery that was incredible. They made their own beer. The monks were so lovely. In the middle of really high up, that was that day when I got there. The monk, this is lead monk, I don't know what they call it, the head monk.
Come out with steins
No, he came out and he saw me and I was so exhilarated when I got to this thing. I was crying with exhaustion and he gave me this beer and he was so lovely. And I did a video and then that next morning I was it was very overwhelming. It was very emotional seeing that it was getting through and people were, with me on that journey, basically.
That was wicked time. Every day it was where's Nat today?
Yeah, what did you do?
I mean, how long did it take?
So, I could have done it in 25 days or maybe 24 if I would put my mind to it. But I've got a lot of family in the Basque Country.
Yeah.
Then I got bed bugs one day. So, I know,
And they do bite.
Oh, no, and they get into all your clothes. So when I got them, I was like, oh, God. And obviously the first thing you have to do when you go to the next place to sleep, you have to tell them. You can't just...
Yeah.
And I came in, I was like, I think I've been bitten. And I don't know what to do. There was this lovely... beautiful old lady, Marta, I think her name was. It was her name day as well. I then bought her chocolates and she started crying because she was like, you knew it was my name day. I was like, no, I didn't, but thank you. Yeah, amazing. And I got there and I was like, help me. And she was like, I literally stripped to my pants and I put everything in the plastic thing and I went to the room, changed into that. And she gave me her son's something to wear and we boiled everything I owned that was fabric.
Yeah.
So she's amazing. Little heads up to Marta out there if you're listening.
I'm sure she is.
that was a day or two that I had to stay in. And I think because I was pushing myself quite a lot, I got some shin splints, which
they're hard to get rid of.
They're really hard to get rid of. And I honestly didn't think, towards the end, I was like, I'm not going to make it. And then because of that, me and my best friend have different rhythms and I'm much faster, but she would catch up with me. Sometimes I had to do self-tapes. So this is what I'm like...
Were you hoping they were filming The Wild again or something The Wild?
No, because you have to be very specific. So I was like, fuck, we can't stay in the permanent hostels because obviously they're a bit bunk, prison-y, army beddy places. So I'd book a cheapest, hostel or hotel. And I'd be ringing them up going, do you have a white wall? I need a white wall with nothing around it. And so my friend would catch me up and we'd be doing these self-tapes in hotel. I didn't get any of the jobs. I mean, none of the jobs. Anyway, one of them, we were in Lugo and we had the whole afternoon off. I was like, we've done the self-tape early. Everything's great. Went out for a few drinks. And I think it was a Galician bank holiday. And I was like, why is everyone partying on the street? There was literally whole brass bands playing Eastern European gypsy music on the street. And after a few drinks, my shin splints in my head had gone.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking logically. And I danced for 4 hours. And I went to bed and I woke up and they were gone. And I was like... Because as I went to bed, I was like, oh, God, what have I done? I've been so irresponsible. I should have been using this day to rest. No, went out drunk dancing basically on the street and it healed in the night. So I don't know what the dancing did to me, but it healed me. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'd like to visit, I think it's in that part of northern Spain. Do you ever see the mural which got repainted by an old lady of the congregation?
No.
It's have you ever seen this? It's of Jesus. But she thought she was an artist and tried to redo it.
Hang on, what's it called?
I don't know, but it's epic.
Okay. I want to see
For all the wrong reasons.
Oh, right. Is she not a painter?
No.
No, really bad.
It's a really bad. I don't know if they changed it or not, but it's one of those things where I've just seen it on... I remember seeing it on the news and I was like, that is so horrific that I really want to see it.
Where is it in Spain?
I'm sure it's northern Spain.
Was it? So would you say it's a fail?
Yeah.
It's a fail, okay.
Repaint.
That's always a good word to put in. Oh, there we go. Elderly woman destroys 19th century
It's epic.
fresco Dio.
Go on. That's terrible.
I mean, I think that's technically a sin to do that
That's
to a
definitely,
picture.
she's going to hell.
Yeah,
She's burning
yeah.
in hell, definitely. Yeah.
But the interview was people were very angry with her, and she was like, "I didn't do that bad."
It's fine. I love Jesus. Why is it with me?
He just looks like that scene in the first Harry Potter film, when Voldemort's on the back of the head.
Yeah. Like half
Just
made.
coming out
not
the back,
quite.
yeah. That's shocking.
Yeah, but anyway, back to so you definitely recommend it to anybody, and you say there's many different routes to do.
Yeah.
And...
Yeah. I mean, So I think in terms of the physical hardness, the North Way is really hard.
Yep.
But actually, I mean, saying that, there's the way that's de la Plata, so Via de la Plata, like the silver route, which is through the south of Spain. And depending on what time of year you're going, that might be the hardest because it is boiling.
Yeah,
it goes through, I think it goes through Extremadura, which is my region, where my mum came from and all my, half my family. And Extremadura means extreme harshness, just to give you an idea. It is hot. It is hot. It is hot and dry and you want to die. So I think trying to do it in those conditions, I mean, it depends what you're like. I'm really good with heat. So actually at the beginning of my journey, because I started in September and it was weirdly boiling, that's why my friend struggled and lagged because she's, really, really white, really, really pale, really, really British, and she was dying.
Yeah.
Whereas then when I started getting into Galicia, I was like, I had a sense of humour failure with rain. After 3 days of rain, I hate my life. I hate everything. Like, how do I try this?
There's parts. We spoke to Alfie Enoch actually the other day.
Yeah?
Because he did it.
He's amazing.
He's done
Which way did he do you know?
He started in France.
Yeah, so
So I don't know if he did the
French way or the North.
Yeah, I'm not too sure which one, but he definitely did all through, obviously, the Basque Country and around there. But he was saying what an amazing time it was.
And it's also the people you meet. I mean, it's interesting because people are doing it. Obviously, a lot of people for religious reasons, but more often than not, especially in the French way, it's people that just want to see a beautiful country and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And also just people trying to heal. So like, it's just the conversations you have in the evenings, they're not normal conversations. These are people that maybe are dealing with a child dying or a loved one dying or, having cancer.
Yeah.
And it's such a different, it's more...
Perspective builder.
Yeah, and the small talks, and not the small talk. There's fun and openness, that you don't usually get in normal conversations.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, talking about normal conversations. Now, how would you describe like what normal means to you?
That's I don't believe in normal. I've never really believed in it.
Yep.
I think, everyone's got some level of mental illness. Yep. Everyone, I firmly believe this.
Yep.
And it can escalate or de-escalate different points in life depending on what you're going through. And everyone's got a quirk. I think as an actor, you learn to see that every character has something, and that's what I suppose in the I want to get this right. Scientific terminology, it's like the most amount of people that do a specific thing.
Yep.
Is that what normal would mean?
Yep.
But I just don't really buy it.
No.
Do you guys?
Well, this is how we basically came onto the topic of it of normal not being a normal thing. Like there's no such thing. Mm-hmm. And I think once you try and set yourself as but it's not the normal way of doing things.
Yes.
What are you comparing it to?
Yeah.
And is that person going through the same stuff you're going through? No, because no one is identical. No matter, like they could look similar like we do, but no one's identical.
No.
And that's kind of where we thought about this topic of it anyway. Really, like how it got to it. But
also, I think sometimes feeling not normal can be very isolating. And actually, recently I've been listening to there's so many amazing podcasts out there, including yours. But
thank you.
But. There's ways that you can feel non-lonely and non-abnormal because there's something for everyone. Like, maybe your group of friends does X or doesn't do X, or I don't know, maybe your group of friends they're all atheists and you secretly believe in God when you feel about a place with them. There's other things, or vice versa. There's a lot of people that are in religious communities that are scared of leaving them because they will break off everything that they know and love, doing that. And then you just go, oh, okay, I'm going to type in this, and suddenly it's like, oh, look, it's fine. In this context, I'm normal.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
You can switch around,
Yeah.
That kind of takes away what my next question was going to be.
Oh, okay. Ooh.
What's the most normal thing about you? If normal now doesn't exist.
If normal...
If normal still exists,
what would be the most normal thing that you do or about you in general?
I eat.
That'll do.
Everyone eats, right? That is...
I assume so. There's probably someone there who only drinks.
Oh, no, okay. I breathe. We all breathe.
Yep. These are very commonality things if we're going on the basis of what a normal means. Yeah.
My hair grow? I don't know. No, some people say it doesn't grow. I don't know. Yeah, I think that would be it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something like a bit better than that, but I can't.
It doesn't have to be. I think just the way you came in today was very. If I describe anyone, would be very Nat.
What? Walking? I walked.
Well, never like how you came in with like your wicked trousers or your wicked tights on your walking with Mimosa as well, you know. It's just like not being worried about anything else. Is a perception you give off, I think, in this type of environment.
No, I tend to really not be worried or affected too much by other people's opinion of me, because it's like there's so many people are going to think I'm an idiot or amazing. It's like I stopped thinking about that even when I was a teenager. Like weirdly, I think hormones did the opposite thing to me. It's like I just don't care.
Yeah.
I never got that peer pressure or fear of being cool because I assumed I wasn't. So you can really go up from that.
And is that where the music thing came in then, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, music for me was, after that thing with my mum, I told the kids, I then begged my mum to play piano for a year. Because, you know, kids are fickle. They're like, I want to be a fireman, whatever.
Yeah.
Fire person, I should say. And after a year, my mum was like, okay, this little monster's serious about this. And then I started playing the piano at 5. So that was I thought I was going to do music over acting. If I was going to do anything artistic, I thought it was going to be that. I kind of felt, but I mean, music definitely takes on a bigger role in your life when you're like, look, I'm a teenager, I do not look as hot as all of them, but I might get laid if I can sing and play well. Like, that is definitely an element of, like, you know, I loved music, I was obsessed with it, I was doing all the grades, and I was like, now I'm going to start writing my own song. Someone listen to I Fancy You, woo, you know.
I often think, you know, people say you could go back to your younger self and say something.
Yeah.
I would go back to my 11-year-old self when I used to play classic Spanish guitar, and I would go back to that 11-year-old self and say, don't give up this, because girls and like attract people who play music. So that would be my and other things, obviously.
Of course. And the self-growth of playing it as well. Of course, exactly.
Let's be honest, people are wooed by a quality guitar player or musician in general.
Yeah. So there was always that kind of, I was like, okay, I've got this covered, it's going to be fine. One day someone will fancy me, it's fine, I've got it.
So is there anything else apart from Wolf? Is there anything else on the horizon that you're working on?
No, that's it. And I'm like I said, I'm feeling so lucky that I've even got that. We're going to wait to see if there's a season 2. I really hope there is, because I fall in love with Manchester. I've played there a few times with the band Gorilla, Ruby Lounge. Great venues, amazing audiences. I want to go back there. I want to go back there when it's open as well. Like, I've been loving it. Now it's closed. Everything's locked down. Yeah. To go back and film again with this amazing team and in an open Manchester. Gonna have so much
That'd
fun.
be good fun.
So much fun.
Great night out as well.
Yeah.
Really good.
So how would you say then, if there's people judging things by normality on them, what would you say is your not normal? Is your like weirdness? Your least normal stuff?
That I do?
That you do, or anything like that?
I mean, a lot of people do this, but I sleepwalk.
Yeah, but you live on a boat.
Yeah, no, it's weird. It never happens when I'm on the boat. Right. The things that trigger it are jet lag, stress, and tequila. Specifically, I mean, it can be quite any other kind of big spirit, but it's usually tequila that can... which means that every time pretty much I go to LA, something like that happens. Yeah. And it's pretty... It happened when I was in New York, actually, when we went with the Harry Potter thing.
Yes.
I slept that night.
Was this when you thought you were a cat?
No, I thought it was a crow.
A crow, sorry, yeah.
And I weed on the...
I wasn't going
I was trying to avoid that bit.
No, I don't care. I mean, like, it's something that has happened and I have to own it. Because I find that shame... you feel shame when you don't feel you can own it. And it's like, you know what, it's completely fine.
Yeah, but I remember you coming down to the bar the next day.
Yeah. Oh, God. It was so bad. And I woke up just falling. And I was like, oh my God. And the worst is... I've got to say this.
No, don't. I know what you're going to say. Just end it there. I'm going to save you there. It gets worse.
It does get worse.
But yes, that was very not normal. Yeah.
Where'd you go from there?
Well, I was going to say that sleepwalking is a very good thing. This isn't as normal. I'd say that's quite. Does your other half have a way of stopping you?
Weirdly, he hasn't seen it that often. Again, it's like when I'm feeling alone. It happens a lot in hotel rooms. It happens a lot, or when I'm filming away. When I was in LA, because I was there for... Actually, I'm quite amazed it happened when I was in LA shooting Wisdom of the Crowd, because I was there for 6 months. I had my place. It was my stuff that I'd bought. Like, you'd think right now, I think that it's fine. And, you know, it's just so scary when I wake up and I'm like, if the lights are on, I'm like, that's it. What's happened? Yeah. And it's a bit scary. I once worked doing a film in Italy, and I woke up and again, the lights were all on and the door was open. I was like... And I was like, okay, nothing, okay, everything is fine. Everything's fine. Maybe I just wandered around in my room a bit. And an actor said that he'd been up all night because he'd been really scared because someone kept knocking at his door. And then that night I couldn't sleep because I sleep naked anyway. And I was imagining me like in a dark corridor with my hair, kind of like The Ring, just knocking. And I was like, I'm terrified of going to sleep because of myself. Like, I don't know how to
Turn
deal
the
with
TV off.
Yeah.
Hide it away.
So yeah, that was. I think that's a bit of a weird thing I tend to do. But luckily it doesn't happen that often.
No.
Like, it's not.
No. Well, at least, hopefully then, spending a lot more time at home has maybe
Yeah, it's been good.
quashed that a bit more.
Yeah,
a
it
bit more
definitely
down
has.
in later times, yeah.
But it happened again weirdly. I think because I'd been away for a while, I went to a convention in October with Lawrence.
Yep.
And it happened that I woke up and I was like, oh dear, I've kind of done something. But it's just now I've started, which I don't know why I never did this before. I've started locking fully the hotel door.
Yeah, that may be a good
That's
starting
a good.
point,
Why
yeah.
did I not?
Scratching on people's doors in the middle of the night.
But for me, what's scary is if there's a balcony. So my LA place had a balcony. And I was just like, oh God. So I started I was like, but will I have memory when I'm asleep? So will I be able to find the key and just open the, so yeah.
Hope you're not a crow then.
Yeah. It's so bad.
If you ever see us in a bar, come and ask us.
Yeah,
about the
we'll tell you the
story.
story.
So it sounds like you've worked in a lot of countries. What would be your favourite one that you've been on? Whether it be for the project you were doing itself or just the experience of being in that.
Brazil with the band touring.
Yep.
The first tour we did was just a guerrilla tour. And we went kind of around the Salvador kind of Bahia area that was just like tropical, like amazing. It's kind of where all the rich people from Rio and Sao Paulo go in the summer. And we flew on Christmas Day. That was chaos. Just loads of drunk band members in like reindeer outfits. What are you doing? But the second time was kind of a more organised professional tour. And that, I just fell in love with Rio. I fell in love with that city entirely. And the food and the music. We played in a favela.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We got paid in cachaça, and it was a kind of cachaça that's like, for those listening, it's Brazilian moonshine. Well, it's a Brazilian liquor, but it's like the one we had was proper moonshine, like done in a bathtub outside. Amazed I'm not blind, frankly.
Wow.
But just the people, and in fact, I've got a massive group of Brazilian, very close friends. I think I'm just drawn to Brazilian people.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I've only ever been to Sao Paulo, and that place was it was the only place I've ever seen a sloth. Right?
What?
Yeah, you know the monkey.
Yeah.
In a park, like in the tree.
Right, just hang out.
I went for a walk. I'd landed. I was quite tired. I thought I can't sleep. I'll go for a little stroll. And yeah, it scared the hell out of me. So you don't really get that walking around here anyway.
No.
But he's not going to run after you, is
No,
he?
he's not. But he looked at me and I looked at him. I was like, I like you, man.
Hi.
Yeah, and that
Hi.
was it.
Have a nice day.
But again, they like the food and everything down there.
Yeah.
It was just, it was brilliant. Yeah, really, really.
I
cool.
cried. I remember we flew on Christmas Day. It's the only time that's a lie. It's the second time in my life when I've landed from somewhere and cried. And it was February, and we landed, and I was like, I just burst into tears. I was like, we didn't need to come back. Because it was a guerrilla tour. I was literally walking to bars going, basically, because I speaking Spanish with a Portuguese accent, shouting at them till they gave me a gig, and it worked. Like, I went with no money and my accordion, and I came back with money, and I was like, we could have just stayed. I don't understand why you didn't change the ticket.
Yeah.
And I cried. And like listening to, because we'd been kind of in the tropical paradise, when I came back to London, like just noises. I know it sounds crazy, but like sirens, it was like...
Yeah.
Even electricity and things like that you can hear in the house, right?
It took a while to adjust. It was very, very sad. That February was awful.
So where would be the other place?
I love going to... I'm going to take Spain out of the equation, actually, because my family's there, and, that's kind of home. Somewhere else... Oh, I loved New Zealand.
Yep.
When we've been for a convention, I think just like the nature and the people for me. And I just, I don't think it's on par with like Mexican or Brazilian food, but the food there's still pretty good. And
good bit of lamb.
Yeah, good bit of lamb.
Why not? Am I the only person?
Although going to New Zealand made you stop having lamb.
Yeah, I haven't had lamb since I went to New Zealand.
Oh, wow. You just said it doesn't made you...
It was lambing season when I was there. So I was driving, and you know how you can drive for hours and only see sheep?
Yeah.
And now baby sheep. And one had got in the middle of the road where I was driving. So my pal and I stopped, and I had to get out and pick this little lamb out, put it back in the field. And this thing is so cute. I was like, I can't do it now. Like it's...
Well, I haven't eaten lamb, actually, that's a lie. Like a dish room that's just down the corner here.
Yep.
I had it, but I felt it was not rude. It was like a group of people, and it's like, have someone, okay, fine. I'll have family situation where you're like, okay, I'll appease you. But I'm the same. I weirdly, I think a few years ago, just suddenly got really sensitive to lambs, and I'm like, it's a baby, not eating it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll wait till it's older. I don't care.
Yeah.
Cover it enough curry, it'll taste the same.
There you go.
I'm feeling left out here. I feel like I should be.
Yeah,
I should be more conscious about it.
Evil pug. But yeah, I did actually. So I want to make this clear. I actually sent these to Nat earlier yesterday.
Yes.
But would
Yes,
these 3 a.m. questions be you sleep thinking about
Sleep
it,
thinking,
or
so-
would this be your
No,
personal?
this is first choice. I mean, I found them actually quite hard to answer, but I'm gonna give it a go.
If you give it a go. So what would be? So 3 a.m. questions. For those who don't know, answers which come best at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. What is your favourite book?
So that one's easy. Isabel Allende, House of the Spirits, and it's the only book I've got in my house that I've got both in Spanish and English because I went to school in England. Like, yeah, I'm Spanish and yeah, I can read it, but I find it harder. Like when I've had to learn scripts in Spanish, it's just harder to learn, memorize all that stuff. So I'm quite lazy with it, and I should be better. But I love it in both languages. Obviously, in the Spanish one, it's just for me, it's more beautiful. But it's a wonderful book, and it just makes you feel like the connection between everything and generations, and how past pains will come, but with humour, and she's amazing. And I think they made a film that would look pretty bad. I've seen the poster for it, but years ago now. But that one, definitely.
What is your favourite food?
To make or to eat?
Both. Well, no, you can have, 2 options. If you were making some and then the next day you were going to go out and have something, then...
Okay, so I love making lasagna, because it's a very long process. I take ages, and I make sure it takes ages because it's a long, laborious thing. I've got a thing where I'm really lucky with my partner because he loves chopping. Like, I love chopping stuff as well, but he loves it because it's like almost like, I want to get it as thin. He loves his knives and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he does all the chopping, and I'm always doing the stirring. With lasagna, it's like you really stir for 3 hours, slowly, getting that reduced. And I love it, like pouring a bit of wine in there, drinking some wine, watching and I sit there on the side, the dog's like there, and I'm there, the cat just staring at me like, what are you doing? And like trying to get the spoon. And watching TV or listening to me. I love it so much. It's kind of therapeutic. Risotto has that same quality, but I think lasagna is like a longer haul one. And I love making bechamel sauce. And it's just, that weirdly, I like having it with the Caesar salad, but with no. I mean, I love Caesar salad with bacon and chicken in summer, but I think the Caesar with the
bolognese,
with the lasagna.
The lasagna. Mm-hmm. What is your favourite movie?
Okay, I'm going to say this just because this Sunday, I rewatched this. All of last year in lockdown, I did a podcast called Films to Be Buried With, and I was trying to find, because it's asking different where you like different films from what different reasons, and I was trying to rewatch it, and I couldn't find it anywhere. Strictly Ballroom. And on Sunday, I sat in the bath, sharing a bottle of white wine with my fella, watching it again. And it's just, I love this film. It's for me, it's got everything in it. It's got like music.
Yeah.
The costumes. I'm like, I want Fran's dress. Oh my God, I love her dress in it. It's got everything. It's got a bit of everything for me.
What is your favourite song?
Platoon?
Yeah.
Yep.
My dad was in Special Forces, so when I was growing up, that was what he watched. There was a lot of army stuff, and I loved it as well. And I watched Platoon far too young, and I got that soundtrack, and it's the one that's it's the Tracks of My Tears.
Yep.
Do 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 do. That one, Tracks of My Tears. I think if I had a few minutes to live, I'd want to re-listen to that.
And what is your favourite quote?
Favourite quote from
Anything in general.
It could be one you make up on the spot right now. It could be.
We're all going to die. Is that not a good one? That's not.
Depends if you're saying that sleepwalking, knocking on someone's door, 3 a.m.
No, kind of, but in a positive way. Like, we're all going to die. No, you can't really say. But what I mean is that I don't know. That's a phrase I think about a lot in my life, and that helps me put things into perspective a lot. Like, you're going to die one day. You're going to die. So it helps me. I think emotionally. I don't know why, but
Is that like to do something?
Yeah, sometimes to do something, or if I'm scared of doing something, like, this play when I was saying I was going to get a flight to Colombia, and it's like, doesn't matter, you're going to die. So you need to, if this, doing this play or doing this gig scares you, like, how are you going to actually function when you have to deal with death? So you've got to get over it. And so it kind of just, it's basically it's like my mantra, trying to make myself brave, I would say, maybe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound good, like, does it?
We'll put like a smiley face emoji or something
We're on
inside of it.
right.
That's the take we'll use. That's the bit we'll use. Yeah.
Please.
Wicked. Well, Nat, thank you very much for joining us.
I really, really enjoyed being able to actually sit in a room and converse like that. I thoroughly
Very
enjoyed
much
it.
so. We had such a great time chatting with Nat, and we had a good natter as well. Once the cameras had stopped rolling, and Mimosa was ready for another stroll. But yeah, great to hang out with her again, and really, really enjoyed it. And I hope everybody too got to learn some more stuff about Nat.
Yeah, and I think there was one thing which I noticed. Afterwards when we were walking back. So for transparency with everyone, James and I were a guest on James Haskell's podcast, which was filmed in the same studio. So we nipped in between when he was doing his interviews, and that's how we were able to interview Nat there. And we had James Haskell, who was obviously a guest on our show a couple of weeks ago, was sat listening to the whole recording type thing, and it was quite funny as he was like guest of like audience of one type thing, and he was saying to us afterwards, I didn't know how to. If you should act like you're listening to it properly, or if you're just letting you guys get on with it or something. So that was quite nice. So technically you could say we've done it to a live audience as well. Anyway, so I just thought I'd drop that in there. But yes, as I say, it was an absolutely brilliant experience to be able to do that. And we thoroughly hope that you guys listening really enjoyed it as well. And we just want to say, obviously, because Nat did the Camino De Santiago for the Orchid Project, if you've been affected by anything of the issues raised today, just let you know that we're sending nothing but our best to you, and obviously check out charities like the Orchid Project as well to see what they can offer.
Definitely. Like Oliver said, it was great to speak to Nat. It was also just great to be out speaking to people. So hopefully we can maybe one day do another one to a live audience, or at least one that isn't a former England rugby player sitting with his mask 20 foot away. But it was
Audio.
It would be fun to do.
It was a perfect idea, though, really, wasn't it? Because like the studio, what is normally like a bar, a restaurant. So even if we could do it for like a few people like that, I suppose. Maybe when season 2 rocks up, or season 3, whatever we want to call it, the next season, maybe we can do a live show, be it here, be it somewhere else.
But
we'll travel.
Let's bring it on to the Did You Knows.
James has the facts ready to go. It's fun to learn. It's time for Did You Know?
I've got a Did You Know? I've got a Did You Know, right? So you know that we're getting into like springtime and everything now,
Right.
And it's all starting to get light nights. Love this time of year. Love this time of year. As I said the other week as well, the smell of freshly cut grass reminds me of spring. Anyway, now we're getting into that. But to take you back to obviously beginning of the year, January. This is a random Did You Know fact. So that's right, I'm coming up with a Did You Know fact today. So did you know the average temperature in Serbia in centigrade in January is minus 25 degrees? That's the average temperature for the month of January.
Are you hang on? Sorry. Do you mean Siberia?
I do! Sorry, I'm cheating. I'm reading off here. Siberia.
I was just thinking then, who's going to be listening in Siberia? Well, this is why, Oliver, you don't do Did You Knows.
Well, I can tell you another one as well. Did you know that Subaru is the Japanese word for unite?
Well, thank you very much. We're still going to keep your Serbia in. I'd love it when you turn... If you go to Serbia in January, you're going to turn up dressed like you're going up Everest.
I bet it's still chilly though in Serbia in January.
It's cold. Anyway, my Did You Knows, which are real. So, like we said, like Nat was talking about, she did the Camino de Santiago. I think I pronounced that correctly.
Yes.
So, people of Spanish-speaking countries will know that Camino is a Spanish word translated to path. So the phrase Camino de Santiago, that means path to Santiago. However, the routes are also known as the Way of St. James, because that is where St. James is said to be buried at the end of it. There you go. But Nat also, one of the reasons that we did our talk where we did it was because Nat actually lives on a canal boat. So, did you know? In England, we have a phrase, if you need to go somewhere quickly, you need to put your foot down, as I say, you need to hurry up, you're told to leg it. And to leg it, the phrase comes from, as a canal boat used to go underneath a bridge, there wasn't that much gap in between the boat and the top of the bridge. People would lie on the top of their boat and use their legs to kick themselves and the boat through the tunnel. Hence where the phrase leg it comes from.
And actually, there's quite a few tunnels. If you still walk through them, you will see the various bricks which have been dropped. Well, the bricks are actually, when they built the tunnel, were dropped slightly. So there was actually foot grooves for the men to be able to kick and push their way all the way back. Because obviously a horse couldn't get through there to pull the canal barge, which is what happened in the very, very early days of the canal. I suppose the canal's never quite reached their full capacity, really, or their full usage, really, because obviously the train system was invented not too long after the
Well,
canal
no, you
system
say
was
that,
invented.
but
obviously things travelled a lot.
the Romans brought the first canals to the UK, and their purpose was to transport goods and also for irrigation purposes. And they reckon that canals were actually constructed to help build the Great Pyramids in Egypt. So although they were done in the UK on mass production for the 18th, 19th century, the Industrial Revolution, however, they have been in the world's existence for thousands of years. Amazing things, the canal.
They are. But going back to my first point, James, in Serbia, the average temperature is 2.2 degrees centigrade. That's 36 degrees Fahrenheit in January.
So that's...
So I was only a little bit off.
25, 26... Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, Oliver. And that was this week's Did You Knows? Guys, thank you very much for joining us this week on this kind of special episode of Normal Not Normal. We were able to extend it with Nat. So, Nat, thank you very much for you and Mimosa coming to join us and have a good little natter. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. And equally, I hope everybody listening enjoyed it as much as we did.
Guys, we will see you very, very soon. Thanks for joining us. All the best.
Bye.